Welcome back to Drew and Dragons, the YouTube channel where we conquer the art of game mastering one video at a time. I'm your host, Drew, and today I'm really excited to do the first of what I hope to be is a Let's Prep playlist where each week I will be recording my prep for my Tuesday patron campaign. I'll release it probably the Wednesday after, so that there's no spoilers or anything like that. Although I'm sure that I'm not gonna be too worried about the players looking at it. There's only 4 of them in this campaign, maybe a 5th. If they want to go metagame, then shame on them is what I would say. Though, a healthy amount of metagaming isn't an issue, but I digress. I wanted to really first just bring this video to talk about the tools, where we are, and what you can expect from the Let's Prep playlist. So the tools that I'm using are Notion. You'll see that this lovely workbook. That is the world map. I went to the wrong thing. This is what we get. You get the real me. You get the realities of it. So this is my Notion whiteboard for my campaign. This is basically a network of many different databases or pages or what have you inside of Notion. Which, if you're not familiar with Notion, you will be soon. Notion is a note-taking tool, one of the ones that I've been using predominantly over the last couple years. There are some other note-taking tools. I'm sure I'll make some videos about those. Obsidian is a really good one that, all things considered, would I consider using Obsidian instead of Notion right now? Maybe, but, there's a point where you have a lot of investment and time sink into certain things. And for me, Notion is one of those things I've spent a lot of time over the last couple years really fleshing this out, building out a world within it, and it'd be really hard and a big task to move it. So that's one of the tools, Notion, and the other tool is Foundry VTT via The Forge. The Forge is just a cloud hosting service that I use. I pay a monthly subscription to them. I would say mostly positive things about The Forge. Early on in my usage, it was a lot harder, but I do think that they've become, much more robust as Foundry VTT has taken legs. And in a world where there's a lot of VTTs, I do worry about the longevity of some, but they're great, and I definitely would recommend them. I am interested in potentially self-hosting, but that does come with its own bag of unfortunates. So those are the tools that we're talking about, Notion, Foundry VTT. Wanted to talk about those. So we're really going to dive into Notion now in the world that we have going on there, what the story is, who the characters are, so that when I go into my prep, my Let's Prep videos, you're not, overwhelmed with the who's and the what's. I'll take a step back and I'll just talk about the campaign. The campaign is called The Calling of Klothys, and it is the first chapter. There are 3 chapters in this campaign, and we currently find our heroes deep into chapter 2. Depending on how they handle certain things, they're level 13, and they're really starting to get to that upper tier play where they're the masters of the whole world. In the world of Theros, where gods are really actually very active and humanized in ways, it's been a lot of fun because they've been given boons and other things that I just think that in normal D&D we're hesitant or afraid of. I'm sure that there are broken combinations that I've already dealt out. Some of my players know how to use them, others don't, but I digress. So we will get into our 4 champions, and each of these they were the Calling of Klothys was chapter 1, and the funny thing is that none of these heroes that I'm about to list were actually at session 1. This was one of my pay-to-play tables where it started, and depending on how things go for you, as if you're a pay-to-play game master or if you've had any experience doing that, you can have some turnover, right? You can have people that come in and they start, it's not a good fit, life changes, yada yada. I've been blessed enough that a lot of my other tables are like groups of people that have come in and wanted me to be their game master and was able to afford my services. And so that's an ideal in my mind. But this one has been more of a hodgepodge, and over the course of, again, 94 sessions is what I'm prepping for right now. 94th session for this campaign alone. It's pretty crazy. But none of them were at session 1, which they were level 3 at. All the characters were level 3 at session 1, where they were called to Mount Cure. I'll take you over to this other map. They were called to Mount Cure over here, where the god of destiny, Klothys, demanded each of the lesser gods of the pantheon, lesser gods being, again, this subjective title within Theros, and they had to help defeat Erebos. They had to stop Erebos. They had to send their champions to the Centaur Plains, where the first of the underworld ruptures had occurred. So the first arc of that chapter 1, is them going from Mount Cure, facing some of the champions of Erebos, and making their way through the city of Akros, down the Titan stairs into the Centaur Plains to destroy this underworld rupture. A lot of the characters that we meet here, Clytotechnis is the one that's been in the party the longest. Ninth and Dekos came in at the very beginning of chapter 2. And Tenebrez is actually within the last 4 sessions joining. And we had another individual that had to drop out. They dropped out, they came back, now they dropped out again. But it is the life when you talk about people that are able to invest into your games. And you'll see the time I'm able to give towards the game and the things that I'm able to share with you only would have been able to happen if I had those patrons. I mean, I'm a husband, I'm a father, and I have a lot of other things that I got going on. So this was a great way for me to be able to push that artistic outlet, learn a lot, but also be able to value my time so that I was able to gain those benefits. So going over our heroes, I'm going to go one at a time. I'm sure there's a lot of information in front of you, but I'm going to start from the left, which is our boy, the Ninth. The Ninth is a rogue assassin with 5 levels in fighter, and they are a samurai fighter as well. Again, all these characters are going to be level 13. As a champion of Aetherios, he is a fighter of the undead, even though he is undead himself. His moniker, the Ninth, comes from him being the 9th and final exception that Aetherios has blessed. His task, his personal quest, if you will, given to him by Aetherios, is tracking down all of those others. 2 have been slain so far, sending them back to their rightful place in the underworld, but the Ninth still has a certain number left to get. He wields the magic blade of Aetherios called Aetherios' Whisper, a saber or a kapesh, if you will, that is inlaid with the Aetherian obols, some coins, said to be, if collecting all 5 and giving to Aetherios, who's to say what happens, but the legends say great things. So that is our first. He's played by our good friend Devin. Next, we move to Tenebrez. Tenebrez is the newest to the party. He's a level 13 Nyxborn Yuan-Ti. We kind of give him the more Gorgon-y views. You can see from this image. To the he doesn't have any of that, but he's just very much Yuan-Ti-ish. I said Gorgon there. He is a Beast Heart from MCDM. If you aren't familiar with them, they have some great work. I really enjoyed Kingdoms and Warfare, Strongholds and Followers. They just released a couple different monster products, including Where Evil Lives and Flea Mortals. Good stuff. Really enjoy it. I use a couple of different things putting them in my world, but they're level 13 Beast Heart. They have a Shambling Mound. A Shambling Mound companion that they walk around with, so it's pretty cool. I'm enjoying him. Definitely like that they're kind of beefy with the Shambling Mound, who takes a lot of heat from them. And as you'll see again, an assassin-y rogue to begin with. You kind of have your tank here, and then we go to our one of our utility casters. We have Dekos Palehoof, a satyr bard from the Skull of Vale. His past, one filled with question marks. His lineage also, as he wields a magical lute that is a combination of Kruphix and a relic from the fallen god Xenagos, the Reveler. He is a warlock bard, so he's mostly bard. He's and then a couple levels warlock. That Eldritch Blast being tasty for him with that modifier, and then I think he's a lore bard. And then our last, but certainly not least, is the grandchild of Perforos himself, Clytotechnis, the Anvil Rot Fire Genasi artificer, whose AC is astronomical, whose intelligence is devilishly high, and a lot of fun to have at the table. So this is our four. Our squad, we call them the Broken Company, again, because many of them not coming in until later. Duty bound by their gods and Klothys, they need to finish this quest. And again, chapter 2 is all about after the closure of the first rupture. There were 3 distinct tremors that shook all of Theros again, and 3 other rifts were exposed. One being in the Ashlands, another being in the Phoberosian canyons where the Minotaur live, and the third being in the Dakra Isles. They were, through happenstance, up in the northern Akroan wastes after the end of chapter 1. Chapter 1 had them closing the rift in the Centaur Plains, but as they interacted with some of the local factions there, they moved across the Centaur Plains, and they came upon this vault, the entrance to a tunnel that led deep into the ground, and one of the former characters, no longer with us, propelled them into it. They followed, wanting to make sure to help their companion, and they went into what is seen as the vault of Afara, deep beneath the Four Winds Plateau, where they met a conclave of sphinxes, the children of one of the great sphinxes in the land, and from there they were teleported through those means to the northern Akroan wastes. They've been following some lower tracks, lower mission tracks from there, and saving a number of people in the northern Akroan wastes, and then inevitably being summoned to Nyx by Klothys, a test, thrown down against them to see how strong they were. It was passed by the Mythmen, and then that was very recently, as they were then dropped onto this island that we find ourselves now. And again, we were up here in the northern Akroan wastes. We were at what's called the Shard of Perforos, this massive shard of metal and gem that was once, thrown from Mount Velus's depths and has been crafted into a makeshift guard tower for the Akroans. They fell asleep at the end of some treks there, and were whisked to Nyx. They had their tests, and we find them again all the way down here as they were dropped onto this southern border on an island called Nisi Fidion. As they dropped there after their challenge, they looked to the south west, and they saw massive torrents and surges. The underworld rupture that Erebos had opened, clearly within their reach. That's only 10 miles, 5.5 miles, or whatever. If you look at the map. Not very far at all, but they were dropped outside of this stronghold. It's called Serpent Stronghold. This compound where they've now been they assaulted the beachfront. They infiltrated the inside, and now are in the cusp of battle. They were able to defeat the lieutenant of Hythonia, Septa, the surrogate mother, the Gorgon, after battle. The ninth was almost petrified by said Gorgon, but luckily they were able to defeat her, him gouging her eyes out, and then with a coup de grace cutting her head off. But we find them in the heat of that battle still, the second lieutenant, very much still a threat you see here, but luckily the bewitching power of Dekko's Palehoof, he was able to hypnotic pattern most of that mob. You see this whole mob right here got fucking, it's crazy, man. I mean, again, when you look at some of the powers of these level 13 characters, you truly do have to not worry too much about it, because the realities are you have to put what's there, and they're gonna break the world around them with you or without you, and so again, as a game master, this goes back to the root of what are we? We are the adjudicator. We are the person that's coming in, and we put the world is the world, and then we see what the actual natural consequences of the actions of these magic wielding beings are. So I hope that this ramble is not too much. We're about to be at 15 minutes. Again, this is just a brief overview of where we are till now, so that when I jump into our prep for next session, when we go ahead and we dive into what it really one of these sheets does, you're going to know some of the main key faces. Here's some of the names. Again, we have the ninth. We have Dekos Palehiv, we have Tenep Rez, and we have Clytotechnis. And beyond that, we have the gods of Theros, Erebos being the chief antagonist, Pharika being his clearly close second, but the gods are fickle, the gods are conniving and not to be trusted. And just because the Mythmen, these four gods, seem to have their purpose pushing this goal forward now, doesn't mean that they couldn't drop that and have their champion do otherwise. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let me know in the comment section what you missed, what I didn't talk about, or what you look forward to in the next video. Thank you so much. Take care.